Welcome to the Green Ring, and thanks for watching. This video is first in a series of intermission features between Die Walküre and Siegfried, during the channel's note-by-note analysis of Wagner's Der Ring des Nibelungen from first page to last. Please do leave a like and or add comment, even subscribe to the channel, any of these being so vital to the YouTube algorithm which keeps this one-of-a-kind enterprise afloat. The Green Ring introduces many syntactic innovations crowded among those traditional analysis has identified as leitmotifs or motifs. This commentary prefers to take Wagner at his word, who thought of his music's functionality as parallel to that of spoken and written language. Through the large web of themes which dominate all four works, a language has been created of which the world as yet knows nothing. Rather than confuse the issue by adopting in place of musical terms linguistic ones, such as noun, verb, preposition, prefix, suffix, the Green Ring refers to the longest of the tetralogy's syntactic elements as morphemes, shorter constituents, modules, the shortest, cells. Since no previous analysis has recognized these elements, and as they play so prominent a role in this exhaustive analysis, special attention is devoted to them at this midpoint, giving those who follow the arguments it presents a clearer grasp both as they move forward and when revisiting prior chapters. The analytic literature quite naturally acknowledges the morpheme generally known as Erda, its distinctive rising arpeggio cited in the majority of ring commentaries. But few analysts recognize how its constituent elements also contribute to the Meister's multifaceted syntactic riches. This video concentrates on his employment of those modules to advance his narrative purposes. Melodically speaking, the Erda morpheme consists of two distinct segments, its initial 5 consecutive scalar notes, and the lift of a fourth, then a third concluding it. The second module, to be considered later, allows concentrated focus on its initial scale, which also parses to smaller modules. In both major and minor modes, its initial 3 pitches naturally separate themselves from the last 2 thanks to shifts from whole steps to half, between 3rd and 4th note in the case of major mode, between 2nd and 3rd in minor. This analysis refers to these 3 initial notes, often with their original long-short-long pulse, as Erda Melody Notes. Parsed as the melody's initial 4 notes, they're referred to as extended melody notes, and, when all 5 sound in succession, hyper-extended melody notes. Their smooth lifts invariably connote the natural balance strived for by the Earth Mother, the original melody note strongest of all, especially when manifesting their original syncopation. Wagner takes pains to stress these originals in the Das Rheingold prelude, which go on to suggest the Earth Mother's powers enslaved in the Ring, Valhalla, and Albrecht's Golden Horde. They form the barrier morpheme's backbone, especially prominent in Fricka's complaints against the Welsongs, who, it should be remembered, is herself a nature goddess. They crown her triumph in that struggle and play a key role in Wotan's anguish over that outcome to at last seal Brunhilde's fate, banished in sleep to her lonely rock. More subtly, they oppose the morpheme of Wotan's spear, with its stout downward scalar movement, including that syncopation characteristic of the Erda morpheme. This accounts for the second class of Erda Melody Notes, that being their retrogrades. The most important of these arises from the character of Siegmund, whose personal morpheme is a spear variant shortened to 6 falling scalar notes, the spear itself often being shortened in its various guises. When Sieglinde first interacts with the wounded Welsung hero, her personal morpheme turns on a 3-note module this analysis refers to as retrograde melody notes, invariably marking that race's impact on the world of the ring. Not to say these retrograde notes haven't sounded before the Welsung's advent in Die Walküre. Like several of the unknown syntactic ideas this analysis discusses, retrograde melody notes have their beginning in the Das Rheingold prelude, specifically that distinctive clarinet evolution of the Erda melody, the first development of many. In this first incarnation, the retrograde notes take the long, short, long rhythm characteristic of all world ash intervals, the module's strongest expression. Its next occurrence is in Wellgunde's lullaby tune, not surprisingly, a melody which echoes so many of the work's smaller modules and cells. Woglinde's line, in the maiden's curiosity over why Albrecht has come among them, launches the module's history as a reflection of sexuality, one that dwarf soon reinforces in his repeated attempts to woo them, with which they then taunt him. Retrograde melody notes are the core module in the renunciation of love morpheme, rhythmically distorted in the briefest module out of Valhalla's 4, and isolated without syncopation in Wotan's defense against Fricke's criticism of his infidelities. She points out his callousness with the only retrograde melody note variant recognized by Derek Cook, the only traditional analyst to do so, which he views as an evolution of renunciation of love, thus further cementing the module as a distinct associative tool. This connection to Wotan's worrisome neglect of his women is itself reinforced syntactically, given the spear morpheme is a downward scale opposing its rising form in the Erda morpheme. More than this, one of the spear's most notable elements is the syncopation early in its descent, which highlights 3 notes, as in the retrograde note module. This plays a key role in Die Walküre, though its early reverberations continue thanks to issues of race and supremacy percolating through Das Rheingold. It plays a role in Loge's panegyric, with its focus on love's importance, first as he solidifies Fricke's earlier distress, then ratified in his appeals for the Rhine maidens. Retrograde melody notes play a more sinister role in Rheingold Scene 3, where Albrecht uses the ring both to alter his Nibelung race and to threaten Wotan's divine line. A chain of retrogrades marches downward after he intimidates his minions with the Tarnhelm, suggesting an army of dwarves goaded towards some dark new destiny. One Mima's description of his fellows before the ring pinpoints the fundamental dichotomy between the unsyncopated notes representing Albrecht's view of race and their syncopated incarnation. Albrecht goes on to repeatedly intimidate his fellows with the unsyncopated notes, a threat he then extends to Wotan. It returns in its syncopated form during the Scene 3-4 interlude as part of Erda's mysterious promise of the giant's racial future, only for Albrecht to twist it as he pleads to retain the ring. Once it's lost, he threatens Wotan with its syncopated form, one that leaves its most dire impression in the coda to that curse, one the god counters when he conceives his solution to that threat. Retrograde melody notes then play a key role in the Welsung twins he sires as his way to defeat Albrecht's curse, though its unsyncopated and distorted forms come to the fore when the Welsungs are under stress. Once Fricke confounds Wotan's scheme, his frustration echoes both the syncopated and unsyncopated notes, reflecting his disillusionment, though Brunhilde's wordless meditation on having to forsake the Welsungs returns its syncopation, while her reproach after he condemns her mixes syncopated, unsyncopated, and distorted. In Siegfried, the unsyncopated form tends to dominate, reflecting the young Welsung's role as his potentially successful step towards returning the ring to Wotan, thus seize the upper hand over Alberich's minions. While retrograde melody notes telegraph Wotan's spear directing that power into his Welsungs, the three-note pattern often expands to 4, as if that favored race's influence over the world increases. With Siegfried Act 1, this 4-note version acquires a more precise significance in the doomed lover's offspring. This begins as an expression of Siegfried's anger, itself an aspect of his vitality, which accounts for its emergence as a morpheme recognized by traditional analysis, alternately dubbed Hero's Adventures, Mission, Freedom, and Siegfried's Mission. Heroic Erda Melody Notes, meaning the fourth and third lift concluding the Erda morpheme, essentially constitute a tonic arpeggio, thus assigning them definitive associative meaning could be dismissed as pareidolia. Cook would disagree, however, who feels an entire family of morphemes arises from those 3 notes, which he terms heroic. These include the Welsung race, Annunciation, Noble Siegfried, Gunther, and the sword. Outside of these morphemes, the heroic notes invariably impart a sense of heroic nobility whenever they sound during the epic. Wotan praises Valhalla with the pair of them, while the module underlines Fricka's righteous scorn for his ignoble infidelities, and it forms the backbone of Freya's noble flight as she evades the giants. It adds quiet heroism to Siegmund's Winterstürme melody, and Fricka defends her honor against the Welsung with heroic melody notes. Its first inversion variant imparts a more equivocal sort of heroism, its influence part of the Das Rheingold Prelude's omnibus description of natural powers. It informs Fasolt's declaration of the giant's resistance to godly betrayal, and adds an ambivalent flavor to Freya's magical apples. The first inversion outnumbers its original, as Erda disappears, telling Wotan her warning must do, thus goading him to later descend to her and wrest from her the information driving the epic to its tragic conclusion. One goads Hunding's fiery reaction to Siegmund's narrative, while a pair energize Sieglinde's dawning realization of her consanguinity with Siegmund, going on to ratify Wotan's rough laws for his mortal heroes. Retrograde heroic melody notes play a more limited syntactic role, imparting a darker aspect when they sound, and almost invariably in first inversion. Their first instance is light enough, as the Rhine maidens play tag, but quickly darkens as the nymphs react to Alberich with disgust. The syntax underlines Loge's denial of the Tarnhelm to the dwarf, announces the giant's return, and permeates Erda's vocal as she disappears, leaving Wotan unfulfilled. A first inversion also forms the core of the Twilight morpheme, underlines the Niding's atrocities, and voices the ignoble fate the gods face. There are a few retrogrades with more positive connotations, however. Siegmund echoes the syntax as he mulls Sieglinde's calming influence, which then goes on to alternate with the original version as part of the Welsung love cadence, and announces Brunhilde as Valkyrie rescuer in the Die Walküre Act 2 Prelude's climax. This is as far as I'll examine instances of this module until moving forward to Siegfried and Götterdämmerung, where it continues to have a significant impact on the work's syntax. My hope is this short video gives you a more complete idea of what I believe are its associative ramifications. Thank you again so much for watching, and do please hit the like button, leave a comment, and if you found this worthwhile, subscribe for the rest of what will be an epic journey. Any and or all are so important to the YouTube algorithm. Oh, and a little donation to my Patreon account would be a huge help in completing this massive work.